Okay, so it's part 3 of probation parole, week 1. Oh, actually, I guess it's week 2, chapter 1. Um, I want to make sure that you understand the difference between um, a felony and a misdemeanor. And for the most part, this is uniformed throughout the nation. There are misdemeanors and there are felonies for the most part. Now, the degrees vary. In the state of Ohio, we have a first degree misdemeanor, where in New York they may have a class A misdemeanor. Um, so the degrees vary, but the basic foundations are the same. And a misdemeanor traditionally means that the offense will result in a maximum penalty of less than a year in jail, and usually, in most cases, result in a maximum penalty of under $1,000. Traditionally, misdemeanors are not sentenced to any form of state correctional facility. They'll serve all of their time in a local jail, whereas a felon will be sentenced to a state facility and serve their time in a state institution. So let's talk about somebody getting sentenced to a state institution. The prison systems use a classification system to determine where they put people. And I've seen this classification system change, and this really goes back to the prison system being the guinea pig for research. The classification system usually looks at the offender's risk level, meaning, do we believe that they are violent? Do the answers on their questionnaire show that they are violent? And then it looks at the type of crime they had committed. Was this a property crime? Was this a sex offense? And that's how they place them within the institution. Let me tell you the problem with that. Especially for first-time offenders. We don't know how they're going to act in the prison system. We don't know if they're going to get in there and be a violent offender or not, or a violent inmate or not. And realistically, a lot of times with these violent crimes, there are usually contributing circumstances: alcohol, drug-related, crimes of passion, that kind of thing. And so you'll never see that type of behavior out of the offender, but they might be classified in this high risk level because of the nature of their offense, when that's not their personality type. The other issue is, we really need, if we believe that providing these offenders treatment is important, and rehabilitating them into the community is important, then isn't that how we should classify them? They're in prison. They're going to be locked up. They're going to be in a jail cell. Now, yeah, we can say, well, maybe they should be maximum security or minimum security. But in general, they're going to be in a general either maximum security place or a medium or a minimum security institution. So why do we really need to classify them beyond those three types? Why don't we classify them based on their personality and based on their needs? Do they need educational services? Do they need to get a GED? Do they need to pick up a skill? When we release them, what are we releasing them back into? What are they going to? How are we going to do our best to ensure that they don't reoffend? What are we going to do to help them succeed as they go out into the work field? That's how we should classify offenders, so we can put them with corrections officers on units that are geared towards helping that behavior. But we don't do that. That's not how we classify. And so that's an issue, and that really addresses recidivism, and why we have such a high recidivism rate. Offenders just keep just circling in and out of the correctional system, and they don't care. And so we're going to talk about some community correction sanctions, some community corrections possibilities that we have that might be able to fix that, and maybe address some misinformation that in society we generally feel is correct. So just think about the classification system and ask yourself, do I agree with this classification system? In fact, you know what? Saying that, I think that's going to be a great discussion board. What is the traditional classification system now in your state's prison system? And do you feel that this is an effective classification system to use? So for placing offenders. So that's a good discussion board question. With that said, that wraps up Chapter 1, everything that I have to say about it. Make sure you read it. Make sure you understand those definitions. As we get into this book, very important to know your definitions, and very important to understand what you're talking about. So with that said, have a great week. Give me an email if you got any questions. I'll be happy to answer as quick as I can. I will talk to you soon.